say goodbye at the end. A new way to continue.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Enough to Keep Going podcast. This is our deep dive episode for September. This is episode number 161. That's right, Palindrome episode. And with me tonight, I am Osiris Prime. With me tonight, I have one Mr. Swiss Guard. Swiss, are you ready for this deep dive for tonight?
I think so. I'm just kind of more surprised that I'm not the only one that appreciates a good palindrome when I see it.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Gotta call it out when it happens. And also, we have one Mr. Agaskles. Gasicles, how are you? Are you ready for tonight's episode?
I'm not sure if I'm ready, but I am here.
All right, well, that's good. Unfortunately, we don't have DBQ Hams here tonight. He was supposed to join us. We were supposed to have the full crew here tonight. I had a whole shtick too. I was going to do, and now I got to wait until the next time we're all together here. But yes, that's right. We have our deep dive episode. We have a lot to talk about. I think tonight we've had a bunch of announcements with the councils coming out, and then we're going to talk through that first. And then we're going to go through some news articles that we've all picked out kind of individually, kind of doing, I guess, a little bit of a different format here tonight. We each picked an episode, or we each picked a news article, and we're going to kind of talk through those. So, gentlemen, let's start off with the big announcements from the last couple weeks. Last week, I'll start with Xbox. We had Xbox Series S announced. Finally, I think that was the worst. Kind of like the worst kept secret for the last year or so. I think it was called Lockhart, I believe, was kind of the code name that people were using. I believe that was for the S. But that was kind of leaked. So I think that was like Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So then they kind of did damage control on it and kind of official, they had the official, I think it was like a tweet at first. And then kind of, obviously all the news websites out there kind of jumped on it. But yes, we have the Xbox Series S coming out November 10th. November 10th, along with the X, which is a release date finally for both machines, because we haven't heard of any release date yet for either of them. Even the Series X, which has been announced now for a while. We got the Xbox Series X at $499, and the Series S, I really don't like these names, at $299. So let's start with that. Let's just go with the release date and the prices for now. What do you guys think? I know we kind of talked about this during our chats here on Discord. What you thought it was going to be, lower, higher? What do you say, Swiss?
I think they pretty much came in where I expected them to be. So there wasn't, to me, like, we got a lot of news, but a lot of it is just kind of, to me, confirmation of what we kind of were already assuming was going to happen. So I think, quite honestly, like the EA being part of EA Play, kind of being part of Game Pass type stuff was kind of more interesting to me. It's nice to finally have dollar amounts and release dates and everything, because this is when I actually start getting a little bit excited about the consoles, and the temptation starts to creep in to actually get one at launch, and then I have to tell myself, wait, let's just wait till some more games come out. But as far as the Xbox Series X versus Series S, the one interesting aspect of that, I mentioned, I think in the Discord, was the Series S has reduced specs compared to the Series X. So they limited, I believe, the hard drive size, and it's HD only. I don't believe it is 4K. So much more of like a PC-ish route where you have higher end and lower end, but they're playing the same stuff. And a little bit different from Sony's strategy with their two SKUs. So it's more than just one has a disk drive and one doesn't. They actually are two different, pieces of gaming hardware.
Yeah, I think that's for me too is kind of the biggest thing. Let me start with the price rise and stuff first. I was actually kind of surprised, and I know I guess Clee's scolded me for this in our Discord chat, but I honestly thought it was going to come in a little bit higher for the Series X, just because everything they were throwing, all the specs they were throwing out. I thought it was gonna be like $599, 600, and then the S would be, probably I was kind of thinking about around the same price. I didn't think I wasn't expecting the S to be on par with the X as far as like specs and stuff. So I figured, it'd be a lower price, but I was really surprised that they didn't go down, they didn't go up, I should say, to $599. I guess it is what it is. It is what it is. And it's funny you do bring up the comparison with Sony's announcement this week, how the disc and the discless PlayStations, PS5s are, they're the same specs. All the internals are all the same except for, there's no Blu-ray in there. So, they knock off $100. So I wonder how that's going to play out going forward when these systems come out. Obviously, pre-orders are flying off. For the PS5 right now, they're selling out pretty much as soon as they go up. We'll have to see if the same happens with the X, which I mean it probably might, especially with just the production of these aren't as high, I think, as they will be from console pass, just because the way of the world, the COVID and all that stuff's just not being manufactured as much as it probably should have been or could have been at this point. But I guess, Cleese, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts now on the S, at least the S side of it, the S and the X on Xbox and the pricing?
Yeah, so a little bit all over the place and a little bit of everything. I don't know if it's a correction, but I wouldn't say that I scolded you about your price. I was just curious of what everyone's like justification and rationale and like mathematics were for the prices they expected. I think a $599 expectation price point was well within the box. I think there was a large part of the community and analysts who thought that might be the case. Last generation, obviously, Xbox came out at $100 pricier than PlayStation. So again, completely in the realm of possibility. I guess one thing I'd like to clarify or just make sure I understand. So Swiss referred, the Xbox Series S is a lower spec machine. I think the processor is like 200 gigahertz or 200 megahertz slower, I think. But it is
sure they have a pretty significant drop in like the graphic, like the CUDA cores or whatever.
Yeah. So there's less compute cores in the GPU that's on board the Series X, and I think it is clocked a little slower. I'm not sure. One point of clarification, I just want to make sure I understand. So the Series S renders at a maximum of 1440p. So I'm
sorry, it's more than HD. Okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, because I equate HD to 1080p. I just wanted to kind of
that in my head, that's what I was thinking too. Okay. But you're right. I recall that now.
Okay, and then I'm sorry. Go ahead, Swiss.
Oh, I was just going to say that like for me, I'll let you make your point, and then I'll jump on there.
Well, so this is the question, and it's that differentiation. I mean, one of the between the two SKUs, and companies are always worried about cannibalization, and we as buyers are always worried about, for $50 more we can get blah. So it was the lower spec thing just a MacGuffin to try and make you like go to that point of reasoning and go ahead and buy the higher end, or do retailers price it such that when the one's on special or whatever that the price differential is less. I don't know. I think in terms of real world practical use. And I think Swiss, you mentioned, where everybody is at from a TV perspective. And I think that obviously varies across demographics, right? But, if you are going to, and this is one of the buying choices I'm making, a lot of it depends on where does the Series S go. If it goes in an entertainment cabinet, right, or area or table alongside a 4K TV, then that's a thing, right? Then I'm incentivized more so to buy the Series X. But sometimes, frequently, a lot of my consoles, some of my consoles are on a desk riding alongside a PC because I'm streaming, or that's my intent. By my highest spec monitors that I use to play PC games on are 144 megahertz 1440p monitors, right? So a 1440p Series S that rides alongside a PC that I use for streaming is a completely practical choice, right? When I go, well, I don't know that I really need like the 4K-ism, right, of the Series X. So, you know, if somebody's rocking a 1080p TV, you know, so those might be choices that they make. The thing about the 512 gigabyte hard drive that chaps me a little bit, like I like really like the price differential between a 512 gigabyte hard SSD and a 1 terabyte SSD. But I mean, but again, this is, if you kind of think about the Series S as a budget box, right? And Swiss, you've gone through this exercise before, right? You know how down to the nitinoids those price differentials are when you're trying to squeeze underneath a cap, right? So maybe every little dollar of difference matters when you're trying to get down to $299.
I suppose that, to be honest, the hard drive piece was what rubbed me the wrong way the most, because the idea of having a digital only at a reduced graphical fidelity made perfect sense to me. I'm like, you know what? If I don't have to pay for 4K, like, give the consumer the option not to pay for 4K. That's great. But then you made it digital only and reduced the hard drive size in the digital only one. It's like, and simultaneously you come out with you can expand the memory footprint, and it's like, okay, so now we have this whole other like additional cost to throw in. On the one hand, it's like you have the nicer price, like when it's sitting there on the shelf at Walmart for a lot of customers that aren't like heavily versed in it. But from a practicality perspective, 512 gigs of hard drive space isn't going to last you very long before you're already start that $299 price is already going to start to bump up.
Yeah,
so
it's like 5 games. That all being said, I only castigate them but so much because they're not the first ones who fired that shot. Nintendo was. Right? So managing micro SD cards with your Nintendo Switch is a thing now and has been for 3 years. And you make choices, right? I choose not to manage it, but in order to get to a space where I don't have to manage it, I have to procure a 400 gigabyte card, which when the Switch initially launched didn't support 400 gigabyte cards, right? That came along, you know, in the middle of the life cycle. So it's a, you know, I agree with you. I get it. You know, so I throw a stone. When I reach over to pick up the boulder to throw at them, I go, wait, well, hold on a second. I have to throw the same boulder at Nintendo.
It's a little bit different because with the Switch, you can still use physical games if you so desired. With the Xbox Series X, you don't have that option at all. So, but you're right. It is. Yeah, don't. Why are you fishing for like rationality out of Nintendo?
They're in the ballpark. But no, I mean, I had the same issue. I think the biggest thing was it's just a hard drive, and hey, now, you know, I can't just put any regular old, you know, external drive on here anymore. I have to use one of their what is it, Seagate, I believe, that they're partnering with. Yeah, Seagate, one of their storage devices now, expansion cards.
Yeah.
So
let me dig into that a little bit, because we're gonna nerd out Propellerhead just for a second. Because I'm there with you guys. It's very easy, but for people who are less knowledgeable than we are, I want to make sure that we convey that knowledge so they don't think that that's just arbitrary. One of the probably the biggest, and we'll talk probably a little bit more as the show goes on. One of the things that excites me the most about, you know, this Series X and S, this whole generation of hardware, and it all existing within Phil Spencer's empire and him controlling all of it, and that them all being the same people, is that so many things in the Xbox are immediately I say flowing down. It's really kind of flowing up if you think of the PC hierarchically as the more primitive organic platform, I guess I would say, in order to not call it superior. So many things from the Xbox Series console launch from a technology perspective are immediately and rapidly slipstreaming over to DirectX 12, which I believe comes out this fall, and there will be other additions into that spec as we turn into next year. So the big thing about the storage, and the reason why, at least on the Xbox side, I'm pretty sure Sony's doing something similar. But the whole reason why it's the super fast load times is because, part of that is being written directly into DirectX. It's called Direct Storage, so it's now part of the gaming API. But on top of that, what it's allowing is it's allowing communication directly between the GPU and the SSD. So it's not. I mean, part of it is, yes, they're making you buy their proprietary drive, but they're doing that because that's the only thing that enables that hardware. Right now, a year from now, where that flows into DirectX, I mean, that's going to become part of the PC spec. So you're going to be able to buy an NVMe SSD that is PCIe 4 that works with direct storage. And if you have an RTX 3000 series card, which I think we're going to maybe talk a little bit about tonight, I don't know, I'll probably throw it in there somehow, then you're gonna on a PC, you're going to enable data transfers directly between that NVMe drive and your GPU. So basically, I'm glorifying a little bit because I don't think it works exactly this way, but in order for people to kind of think about it there, you're basically going to be able to take a level and load it directly from the GPU, load it directly from the SSD into the GPU without going through your CPU and its memory bus. So that's huge. And that proprietary card, while a pain, is the only thing right now today that enables that on the Series S and X.
Yeah, and I wonder if in the future they're looking to kind of expand on that or evolve. That we don't know the prices yet for those expansion slots, as far as tonight, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know that it's been officially released, but I'm pretty sure we know that they're. I think a 1 terabyte card is $200.
Yeah. In the article, the nVidia article that I had put up there, they said it's about $200 for a regular SSD.
So, and let me ask one more question. While we're talking about the Series S and the size of the hard drive, is there a demographic? Is there a gamer profile that fits? Right. So we've got a few different gamers, right? We've got the I buy Madden and Call of Duty every year, and that's all I buy gamer, right? If that person only needs to load 2 games on their drive, right, or some small number of games, right, then is that manageable? And I guess then the other side that I ask is, if this is the kid gaming device or the low frequency gamer, or the person who is more likely to play something like Ori and the Will of the Wisps or Crash Bandicoot Redux, right, and not like the Call of Duties and the Microsoft Flight Simulator that are like 150 gigs, does the Series S and its hard drive size work a little better without causing as much pain as soon as it does for people like us who play like 20 different games and they're all like 100 gigabytes apiece?
No, I mean, you're correct. I mean, obviously the S is for the more, I don't want to say casual, mass audience out there, gamer out there. Obviously with the smaller hard drive, and like you said, there's people out there who only they only buy a couple of games. And for me, that's why I'm kind of digging on them for the hard drive thing, just because I do I do play a lot of games, and it's not even just I play a lot of games. Now I have my family's more into games a lot lately, so we have all kinds of, and I'm not playing like Call of Duty and well, maybe Halo, but like anything big like that with my son or even my wife. Usually they're smaller games, but still those games add up, and a lot of the games, like I mentioned in the GX shows these past couple of weeks, excuse me, my son's been kind of, he watches YouTube and just all these other shows, and he'll bring in the games to me like, hey, Dad, do we have this, or can you get this? I'm like, oh, let me see. And Game Pass obviously helps that all out. But then, with that, I have to download the games onto my system. So right now, yeah, it's no problem because I got a 3 terabyte external drive. But in the future, that might cause a problem. And like I said, that's just for me. That's just personally. But I mean, I get the different the different SKUs out there, and I mean, in all honesty, I think $299 for the S. I think that's a steal. To be honest with you, I mean, yes, it's less than the X, but I mean, you're not going to notice that huge of a difference, unless you're like sitting, side by side with, both consoles, playing at the same time. So I don't think it's a huge deal there.
I think that you said, like you mentioned, that type of gamer, or the actual box is just smaller. So taking it to like, your dorm room or something makes more sense to hook up to your monitor type thing. Because I don't know how many students are going to have like a 4K, monitor or like big 55-inch 4K TV in like a dorm room or something like that, right, on campus. So that makes sense. But Prime touched on something I think that is another strike against the 512 gig hard drive, which is Game Pass. You said yourself that swapping, like doing the game, if it's for like you said, I don't want to say the casual set, but not the collectivist set of hardcore gamers that like they buy a few things, but they might subscribe to Game Pass like they would a Netflix or something, just to have access to the library. And if that's the direction that Microsoft really wants to go, the hard drive is an extremely limiting factor for somebody using a service like Game Pass, right? Well, that's where xCloud comes in, I guess, right?
Ish, maybe. I think again. I think, and I'm not like this is not a pillar that I'm, standing with the tablets coming down from the mountain, right, and proclaiming his doctrine. These are concepts of who different gamers might be. So for me as a gamer, yes, it's an impact, because I'm the type of person who hoards games, downloads what I can, and I just want the storage space, right, so that I don't have to think about it, right? And that's what I procure, right? I have stuff loaded like multiple times in different instances, and and all this stuff that's not necessarily necessary. But I wonder, but then there's that type of gamer who, yes, they subscribe to Game Pass, but they don't hoard, not with intent, right? Meaning they download a game, they're more of a trier, right? So maybe this is like and I wish it's unfortunate DBQ's not on, because my question would partly be, does this suit DBQ's needs for a GameFly box, right? A Game Pass's GameFly box, which is I pull a thing down, I try it out. If I don't like it, I bounce off of it, and I don't care if I have to delete it, right, to bring down the next thing. I wonder strongly if, from a Microsoft perspective, if they kind of expect 50%-ish of the Game Pass demographic to be people who download stuff, try something out for a little bit of time, right, and then swap it out to download something else. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've had, all kinds of statistics and analysts, covering all this, and that's why they did these two different SKUs. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting come this fall, and actually more so in the future, just to see how all this plays out. A couple more things that came down. We actually kind of touched on them already, but I'll mention them real quick from Xbox. We also had EA's. I don't even know what it's called now. What is it? Is it Origin? Is it? I'm not even sure what it's called anymore.
So Origin's going away on PC. It's the client is the EA desktop app, okay. And I believe their whole service fabric is being relabeled to EA Play. Okay. And so actually their directs, right? What started off back when E3 was a physical in-person thing, which they had started calling EA Play, is now EA Play Live. So they've taken that EA Play name and that used to go with their trade show stuff, press conferences, and slapped that on the subscription service.
Yeah. So that's now included, or I don't know if it's in now, but it's going to be included with Game Pass, Xbox's Game Pass, with no additional cost. It'll still be the same price. So I mean,
and I think I believe it's a vague, ambiguous this holiday. So yeah, we're thinking likely at launch.
With the Series
yeah.
SX. Yeah, and this is not the full blown. If I remember, because I remember you and DB were talking about this. This is like some other games, but obviously this is not day and date games, I believe, right? If I remember correctly, or that hasn't even really been fleshed out yet.
It has ish. Again, DB's really the expert on this. So my understanding from the question I asked is, this is not this is not the service level that is. This is the console. What is now essentially going to be the console level service. That gets you basically access to a warehouse of EA past titles, but does not get you day and date, does not get you the 10-hour ahead of release trial, right? So like a week before the game goes live in their service, and you can play it for up to like 10 hours before the if you've pre-ordered it. So it's not that premium level service.
Okay.
But it is.
Yeah,
But there are two tiers of the service. There's I don't know if there's two tiers on Xbox, but EA Play itself, as it collapses, there's that premium tier service, and then there's, I think, what you're getting, the equivalent of what you're getting on the console.
Yeah. And I just pulled up an article here from the Xbox Wire, or Xbox's news. And it does mention you get access trials of games for up to 10 hours. But I don't know if that's like already games that they have there, or I don't know if that's new games. It doesn't really specify. So I'm assuming it's probably stuff maybe that's already been out.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, along with that, we actually had, and Swiss mentioned this too, we had xCloud come into beta, come out for Xbox Game Pass. So that's part of Game Pass now. It's, once again, no additional charge. You have xCloud out there. You can play on the go on Android, at least, I think. I think they're trying to get on iOS. I know there's a big hubbub about that this past week. There was some, they could put it on there, but Apple still had to like review each game that was going to come out on it. So, and I guess that was the big hubbub about xCloud on iOS right now. So I don't think it's officially on there yet. So, but you can do it on any Android device, phone, or most, I should say, phones and tablets and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, and once again, I think we mentioned this, numerous times. This is kind of like the long play that Xbox is going for, getting Game Pass out there, and just kind of now they're adding these different services like EA Play, and maybe one day we'll see Ubisoft's Play, and other game manufacturers or game companies games on there. So for right now, once again, Xbox Game Pass, you get all of Xbox's first party or Microsoft's first party titles day and date when they come out. So it's a pretty good deal. I mean, like I've been subscribing to now for a while, and I've jumped over to their Ultimate Game Pass, which pretty much gives you everything PC, console stuff. So I mean, I can switch back and forth. So I think this is just another piece of the puzzle for them that they put on there. So any comments or anything on Game Pass? Or any announcements that came out for Xbox this past week or so?
The only thing I'd add is I do agree with you, Prime. I think maybe we thought the EA Play thing was less advantageous, but yeah, I'm probably looking at the same thing you looked at on the EA Play support site itself. It specifically says you're going to get selected new games for up to 10 hours of playtime with no commitment. Including early access starting on October 1st.
Oh, okay. So less than a month away. Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, and then you get like DLC and like rewards and stuff like that too, and stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Swiss, any other comments on Xbox?
I don't think on Xbox.
All right, so let's jump over to what was announced this week. Actually, just yesterday, a couple days ago, for the PlayStation 5. We actually had price and release date for this console. Now for the PS5, we have November 12th. So November 10th, which is a Tuesday. That's Xbox. A couple days later, we got the PS5. I can't remember in past launches. Have they been that close before, within the same week? That you guys can remember?
I feel like they're always like that.
You talking about the release?
Okay.
The release dates?
Yeah, just release for the consoles.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that they've ever been within 2 days of each other, but they've been definitely, like Swiss said, in the same month or within like a week or 2 weeks of each other. And I think the conventional wisdom is everybody thought that the Xbox Series would launch on the 10th. and the PlayStation ones would launch one week later on the 17th.
Yeah, so we actually got to the 12th though, same week. So it's gonna be a busy week for everybody, possibly, depending on if you're getting anything. And I'll ask that question later, actually. So we got, I believe, both consoles, right? They're supposed to come out. The disc and the discless versions will be coming out that day. I know the pre-orders had been, like I said, the pre-orders went up, and they're just like chaos trying to get stuff. Unless you're like on some kind of like notice or something, you're probably not going to get one, or like an email notice or text notice, because they pretty much are flying off the virtual shelves, as it were.
I would even add, even if you are, like, I was signed up on Amazon, on Best Buy. I am a Best Buy member or whatever, and actually I'd gotten from a buddy that I know on Twitter, I'd gotten notification that pre-orders were up on Walmart, and I tried that. I went to do something, and as I was coming back from that, I got the email pop up that pre-orders were live on Best Buy, and they were already, like, by the time I got the email, and I immediately hopped on like my mobile app, and they were already, like, people had gotten the word before I ever got the email.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Before the show started, I glanced at Walmart, and they said pre-orders are going live, and we're recording this on the 17th of September. September 17th at 9 p.m. Eastern. And I was like, oh, okay, in like 10 minutes. There was a brief flash of, should I do that? And then, no. And then, yeah, we're like 20 minutes in, and it's already out of stock. So
they're going fast.
Yeah.
So once again, so $4.99 for the full version, the disc version, the Blu-ray, and everything, and then discless version is $3.99. Once again, though, you might think, oh, hey, $3.99, it's the same price, but the internals are all the same, other than just there's no Blu-ray in the discless version. So, I think that's a pretty good deal. That still even at $3.99. So, do you guys, since that is the case, there's no major difference between the two other than the Blu-ray. Do you think does that give them like a leg up? I know it's $100 more than Xbox's Series S. Do you see any? I know this is speculation, but do you see that working in Sony's favor? Agastocles, go with you first.
I think overall, my feeling is it's hard for me to express my feelings in terms of like Xbox versus PlayStation on that topic. I think the way this whole spread has kind of peanut buttered throughout the range, it's great that in combination we have a great set of price points for this holiday season. You're not going to be able to get any of them, but when we turn if you say, hey, I'm not going to buy anything for the holidays, I'm just going to save my money and wait for things to show up in January, February, I think you'll be good. It's really nice that at $4.99 we have 2 SKUs. There's a thing for people who want to spend $3.99, and for people who want to spend $2.99, there's 2 SKUs, because I'll throw the Nintendo Switch in there as well, right? And then so for gamers who aren't wearing a manufacturer's flag or a tattoo emblazoned on their back, right? Who just want to play games, you have lots of options this holiday season, and they're as I said, they're spread throughout a price range to fit your needs. And no one says that two things that I thought hard on today is no one says, well, not no. Some people don't have to buy just one. Lots of people do. Lots of people won't be able to afford them, and that's unfortunate. Some people will be able to make choices and don't have to say one or the other. And again, those price points means that it might be reasonable for some people to have a Switch and a Series S, right? The two SKUs that exist at a lower price point. The other thing is, the way these things are structured price-wise is nobody says that you have to do one and thou shalt live on that one forever. It's definitely feasible to me to, as Swiss mentioned, to buy the Series S as your college box. And then when you get an actual job, right, or even maybe, depending on how long the life cycle is, you get a job and you get that first, like, significant raise and stop living payday to payday, right, then you can bump up and buy a Series X. So the structure and the peanut buttering across is really good. And at least for Sony and Xbox buyers, right, you have 4 different SKUs that you can use to play Cyberpunk 2077. Right? And that's discounting the previous generation ones, which we're probably going to start to see, some price reductions on At least at the retailers who are conscious that they're going to be looked at poorly for trying to charge the same price for the old thing as they are for the new thing.
I think that at the superficial level, it gives Microsoft a bit of a leg up for the uninformed consumers, like the parents that are sent there, like to pick it up for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever. It's when you dig in, I think, like Agasically said, it's good to have options. Each one has a little bit of a trade-off, and it's kind of what you're willing to accept. So with Sony's kind of strategy, doing what they're doing, I kind of like it because it allows people that have gone over to digital only to have a cheaper option. They don't have to pay a premium for 4K if they don't want the disc and they don't intend to use the disc. I like that they still have a disc-based option for people that want to use the PS5 as kind of their center, excuse me, of their entertainment center, where they can do Blu-ray movies on it, and they still have access to an aftermarket used game economy with with disc-based games. And to me, that's worth it right there, just to pay the extra $100 to have that option to get my discs, to put them on the shelf and to not have to worry about it. So to get them used, so that is for like half off or pretty cheap on eBay or something. So I like that. Depending on what your preferences are, there are options, because in past generations we didn't have this level of hardware diversity.
I am going to challenge a little bit. I'm going to use my one challenge card for that. I'm going to challenge a little bit the notion that the $299 Xbox Series S is only for the uninformed. I think, again... No, sorry,
I said at the superficial level.
Right. Okay.
For the mom going into Walmart, that's what that'll be something that sticks out. Oh, it's
more
the
attractive
thing. Yes. But no, I said earlier, I said it's great for somebody that doesn't have a 4K TV. I don't have to invest in 4K hardware if I don't want to. That's great.
Right. And I think even for that mom going in, it's appropriate in terms of she doesn't need to buy a 4K box, right? And we say mom, I mean it's for uninformed dads as well. Yeah. Timmy and Susie, who are pre-teens or whatever, don't need the 4K box, right? That with 20 teraflops of power and yada yada. They will be fine on the 1440p box, right? So, like as you mentioned, it's good that choice and that option's there. And
go ahead.
And provides that reality that we've talked about for several years, right? Which is, my desire to see a thing on the market that a parent can go in and buy at a relatively low cost point, comparatively speaking, and just buy the subscription, right? Doesn't have to buy games, doesn't have to do all that. I mean, the flip side of that is, unfortunately, that means that they'll probably need to understand parental controls so that they can lock the box down so that little Timmy and Susie can't buy whatever the heck it is that they want to buy on Game Pass or download whatever they want from Game Pass. But, it brings that a little bit maybe closer to reality, or maybe even, technically, now is the point where that's a thing, right? I tried to say it was a thing last generation, but really now you can be a parent and buy a $299 box and pay a subscription and satisfy the gaming need of your youngster without having to listen to them complain that you got the wrong thing.
Yeah, and speaking of parental controls, I think Xbox was overhauling theirs. I think they had an article about it recently, a couple weeks ago or so, which they really need to do because it's really convoluted, their parental controls.
This is like a really big segue, or not segue, but tangent. But have either of you, I mean, we're all dads here. Have either of you experienced a gaming console or service that had good parental controls?
I can't say gaming. I think the gaming problem is almost more of a rating and content problem that even if it did have good controls, like the ratings are a little bit squishy, so it's tough to lock down. But I would say just from an electronic device perspective, I mean, like Amazon's controls I found are really good. Like I grabbed Fire tablets for my kids, locked them down, and now I just hand it to them and got them the free time or whatever. I guess they're rebranding that now, and like I'm pretty confident that all the content they have access to, right, is beneath whatever they should have access to.
Yes, mobile, I suppose, if you want to call it. I mean, I have my son. He has a phone, like one of my old phones that I gave him, not activated, but he can, he can just use it for games and stuff, internet, whatever. And I can lock that down pretty good through Google's. I forgot what it's called now. They actually just implemented a new kind of parental controls on there where you can lock down like specific apps and games and stuff like that, and how long they can be on there, depending on the device. So that one, I would say that one, I suppose, not an actual console though, like Nintendo or Sony or Nintendo or anything, or Xbox or anything like that.
I've been pretty frustrated. I'll throw one in that I've actually liked. Steam actually isn't so bad because I do have one child that's of the legal Steam age, if you can want to call it that. She can have her own account, and so I set it up. I shared my Steam library with her, and was able to kind of lock her down. I basically have to go in and approve games from my library that will appear on hers, so I can kind of control it at a pretty granular level. So it's very rudimentary, but I didn't feel like I was getting a root canal trying to work with it. Right. Sorry, thank you for indulging in my tangent.
But I think to agree with both of you, I think at least for me that's what I prefer most of all. Like the Amazon thing that I mentioned is a rarity. I think at the end of the day, what I want to do is I want to be able to app by app, title by title, approve what people have access to. Now for TV shows that gets burdensome, but definitely like the TV shows we own, like I specifically decide which ones go on theirs. But from a gaming perspective, just like you mentioned Swiss and just like you mentioned Prime, like what I'd like to do is be able to go in there because just because a thing is rated teen, and this is where I say the rating problem is the problem. Just because a thing is, there's plenty of stuff rated teen that I wouldn't necessarily want, like a teen of mine, right, to play, depending on the content and subject matter.
Yeah, it's just I just had a whole bunch of problems with Microsoft's thing. So hopefully with the redesign, hopefully they'll have it. I don't think it was available yet. I don't know if it was supposed to be coming up with the new systems, but hopefully they revamped that because it was kind of convoluted. But anyways, back to PlayStation. So this was all announced during their showcase event, and I'm going to get to the games here in a second, but I just want to get to a couple other things here that they announced. So their answer to backwards compatibility was their PlayStation Plus collection, which they announced, which gives you access to some PS4, a selection of PS4 games, at least for right now. And they mentioned God of War, Days Gone, Persona 5, and Monster Hunter World, and more. Well, I'm assuming we'll come down the line here. Is that anything worth your gentleman's wilds, or I mean that's just kind of an added plus if you can, go back and play God of War or Persona 5 or something like that. I think Agasicles is saying no.
So this is my one. I mean, there's probably more, but I mean, this is my one thing because we've been saying it for so long that I was decidedly dissatisfied by. Not even from a. It doesn't impact me personally, but just dissatisfied from a. If I were really somebody who were going to pick nits, right? This is a thing that I feel like comes down on. Clearly, Sony is not answering the mail, right, on that. And again, there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily disagree with what they do, but I disagree with the kind of mealy-mouth reason that they claim, right, they're doing it. So to me, this is their answer to backwards compatibility. It is less than Xbox's answer to backwards compatibility. Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen other reports that one of the Sony execs said 99% of PS4 games will be backwards compatible. Now, I agree there is a lot of obfuscation with regards to what the backwards compatibility is. I think that this is kind of a bone to throw at the Game Pass people more than it is This is not their backwards compatible solution. I feel like this is their. We kind of have a Game Pass thing for the big titles that we've already had. Yeah, there's a little bit of, like you said, added value if you jump in as a PS5, PS Plus subscriber. But I feel like the real backwards compatibility is going to be a different tech. So
No, you and I agree, and I'm pretty sure that it'll be a different tech that you have to pay for, right? That's not,
well, I get that's the glass half empty, but it wouldn't surprise me either. So I don't know.
I mean, so no, and again, it's not that as a gamer I necessarily think that these things are like, criminal, or most of them I expect to, people should expect them. It's like Sony's norm, just like I expect, like, people are giving Xbox a lot of hash for, their proprietary SD cards, and I'm like, were you guys not around for memory stick and Sony disk? And like literally every generation Sony comes out with a proprietary memory format, right? So again, these things aren't necessarily expected. Again, we go back to, for example, the backwards compatibility discussion, right? Not the backwards compatibility, the crossplay discussion of last year, and like all of the marketing and hemming and hawing about why they weren't doing it. I'm like, just come out and say that's because, right, it's a competitive thing, right? So that's my only thing.
Yeah. I did see something that said that apparently PS4 discs will be able to be played on the PS5, the disc-based SKU. So maybe it won't have an added cost if it's just a matter of inserting the disc, but there's plenty of things that have been locked behind a software license wall before. Right. So,
but this is all, at the end of the day, this right here is what I'm saying, right? The fact that we're sitting here, right, weeks till launch, guessing at how it handles old games, and that's the part that bothers me. That's the part that bothers me as an engineer, where I'm like, if I build a product, I'm X number of weeks for launch, I expect the people that I'm planning on selling it to thoroughly understand what its capabilities are, and it bugs me that there's not a plain Jane, open, transparent statement on how the thing is handled or how the thing is not handled. We go back to last week and the whole thing about, I think it was Ubisoft made the mention on a blog post of theirs or something about how some of their games were going to play right on the PlayStation 5, and then it was quickly taken down or reworded, right, to step around with it. Like, I just, like, stop playing the games. Like, just tell people what the thing does or what the thing doesn't do. I think is the thing that I'm more cranky about than anything.
Is that more that just... Is that more that they don't want to just show that hand for some reason, or is it just that they don't know? Like, they're still kind of working on that. Do you think, at least on the PlayStation side, or they're just because I know a lot of times they've said backwards compatibility is it's not a big deal, and now they're kind of backpedaling and they're trying to do stuff and it's not really working, or maybe all of it's not working, or what do you think?
I mean, it could be any of that. The scary thing about the they don't know is that sounds much like an Anthem kind of situation, right? So, here's this big technical honking thing that you've been spending X number of years of R&D on, and it's nearly go time, and you're still hemming and hawing about like what your pricing strategy is for a capability. Like, that's, again, as the engineer side, like I can see the engineer in me who's been in that situation, who's like, the program starts like in 3 weeks. Like, what are we talking about? So there's a part of me that rankles. And then, like, I don't know that it's that they don't know from a technology standpoint, like what can the thing do, what can the thing not do. I think it's all because somebody's up in the boardroom, right, saying, well, we can get 3 more cents on the dollar, if we do this. And I would just wish they would get past that and let people know.
Yeah. All right, so real quick, I'm going to go through some of the games they announced. They did Final Fantasy 16, which I'm assuming is this the MMO one? Because I think it was No, is it just this is the mainline series?
It's going to be I as far as I know, Final Fantasy 14 is hitting on all cylinders, and
okay,
they're going to continue with that. So this is Final Fantasy 16. It's its own thing, I'm pretty sure. And it was
standalone story.
Yeah, it was console exclusive to PlayStation and on PC. So, but I hate these console exclusives because a lot of times, and I feel like Sony's worse about it than Microsoft is. Microsoft always seems to say like timed exclusive to Xbox, but Sony never does that
Yeah.
little caveat. So like, I don't know if it's a timed exclusive thing right now, but it it may be Sony and PC only. So
So help me out because I'm not a Final Fantasy guy. One, I assume because everything coming from Square Enix always has been in development forever. But A, this has been in development for some time? Question mark. And then B, explain to me, as again, not a Final Fantasy guy, why I should be excited about this. Because I've seen on Twitter like all the like people flipping out because Final Fantasy 16 is coming, and I'm like, okay, like are people more excited than like the Final Fantasy 15 ones that came before it, or what's the deal?
it's hard for me to say that because it's been a long time since I've gotten fanboyish over a Final Fantasy game. I mean, I remember being like flipping through like Electronic Gaming Monthly at the screenshots of Final Fantasy X way back in the day and like super anticipating it. But it's been a while since I've felt like that about a Final Fantasy game. I I don't know. It to me it's that question reminds like let me put it this way. Based off the trailer, the game and the story look cool to me. So it interests me from there. Final Fantasy 13 did not interest me. So I haven't gotten around to playing Final Fantasy 15, although it looked kind of cool. But I feel that way about like Call of Duty. It's like everybody gets hyped, new Call of Duty coming. It's like, well, why should I be excited about it versus all the other Call of Duties that have been around? I think it's just for some people, it's just that's the thing they like, and
Yeah, just your preference.
yeah.
Can,
Yeah.
can, can you comment on just from an analytical perspective? Is because again, I guess I'm not an FF guy. I don't understand the impact. Do you think this is a major get for Sony that differentiates the playing field, or is this like the Tomb Raider timed exclusive that I think Xbox had, last generation, and then it showed up on PlayStation a year later, and there was a niche of people who cared, but a lot of people didn't.
How did the Final Fantasy VII remake sell? Do we remember that? Because that was a PlayStation 4 exclusive, right?
I will double check. I know that the month that it launched, it was the top of the sales chart. I don't know how it's done long term. I think maybe 2 months it was the top seller.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely more of a prestigious IP than Tomb Raider. I mean, Tomb Raider, I think faded pretty quickly, but Final Fantasy has been around. I mean, Final Fantasy predates Tomb Raider and it's been around longer than it. So, but is it a get in terms of like flipping people from buying an Xbox to PlayStation? I'm not sure that there's that Venn diagram where people are having to make that decision. So I think it's just nice that it's like, oh, and we already have one of these PlayStation titles that PlayStation fans would expect to have. We have it coming down the pike. You don't have, it's coming soon. Get excited. Like that's how I took it. The God of War announcement was much more of the, oh man, let's get excited now. I might need to purchase my PlayStation 5 sooner than I thought I had to. So that combined with Forbidden West, Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, or whatever the permutation of the title is probably moving up my purchase of a PS5.
Yeah, so yeah, we did. Also, you skipped ahead there, Mr.
Sorry.
Stress. That's all right. No, yeah, there's a teaser for God of War Ragnarok, which there's no release date obviously for that one.
It
There's
said 2021.
Okay. Oh, it was
So-
2021. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I meant to say no release date for Final Fantasy.
Oh, right.
So that could be next year, 10 years from now. Who knows? Who knows when that's going to come out? No, but Final Fantasies, they seem to take a long time. But when 15 was what 3 years ago now, maybe I think. So maybe within the next year or two, we'll see 16 possibly. So we'll see. We also had some more gameplay footage of Spider-Man Miles Morales, which the Miles Morales game will just be $50, and then there'll be a $70 version that comes with the they say the remastered version of Marvel Spider-Man, which was the one that was released last year.
Is it 50? It's not 40?
It says 50 here on this GameSpot article, unless they messed up.
Okay. I'll double check it while you're continuing on. I thought it was $39.99, but I'll double check while you're.
Yeah. So yeah, for standalone, so 30 or 40, 50 maybe, who knows? And then for the full version plus Spider-Man, you get 70. So, and that's supposed to release the same day as the console, November 12th. We had Hogwarts Legacy, which is a open world RPG from Avalanche Studios, which that's I was gonna say Tomb Raider, not Tomb Raider, Just Cause guys, right? I believe, or former Just Cause, or is this a different Avalanche studio now? I think.
I think we get it mixed up because I think the Just Cause guys, I think their engine is called Avalanche.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's Avalanche, but I'll double check that too. You were right about the price, by the way. It is $50.
Okay, cool.
Do we know how much gameplay time is in Miles Morales?
Not that I've seen. No, I mean they keep saying it's it's their full version standalone game. So, but I mean for $50.
Yeah, I thought it was a smaller thing like the Uncharted for Lost Legacy thing, or the Wolfenstein Twin Sisters game or whatever. But I'll double check that too.
Youngblood. Yeah. All right.
I've just looked at the Avalanche. It's Avalanche Software, and they look like they have a bunch of just their title history looks very like intellectual property type thing. Cars, Disney Infinity.
Oh, okay.
They're the Disney Infinity team. Let's put it that way. Toy Story, that sort of thing.
And while we're googling,
Sorry.
We'll figure this out in a later show. So I guess there's an Avalanche Software. There is also an Avalanche Studios, and those are the Just Cause guys.
Okay. So yeah, I actually didn't hear this rumor that they were supposed to be making a Harry Potter universe movie, or a game, excuse me. So yeah, that's an open world RPG where you can you create your own wizard and then build up his magic and spells and all that. So take him through the universe. That doesn't say here, and I unfortunately I didn't get to see the trailers or anything. I don't know if this is like pre Harry Potter, post, or
it's set in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
So is that pre Harry Potter? I think it is.
Yeah, because I think Harry Potter's present day, more or less. Yeah. All right. Demon Souls remake. That's supposed to launch same day as the console. I was never really. I didn't play Demon Souls, but I played. What was the next one they released? A little bit of their next title. So
which one came first?
Dark
Demon
Souls.
Yeah.
Dark Souls. Yeah, Dark Souls is the one. That's the one I played a little bit of on the Xbox. So we have the remake for that. Once again, God of War sequel coming out, and that's pretty much it. I think they showed some Resident Evil stuff. They've got early access for Call of Duty, DMC, Devil May Cry, special edition coming for PS5. Shows more of Deathloop, Oddworld, Soulstorm, and Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach teaser was shown. So that was it for that. Any other comments on PlayStation, Xbox, any of them?
So just a question. So I mean, I guess Xbox did a series of tweets to convey all their information, and there were articles and blog posts. PlayStation did a direct. Did that make any difference to either of you? And specifically on the PlayStation thing, Microsoft announced all of its games already, and it seems to not be revisiting that. Sony came back and revisited theirs. I guess one of my questions is the launch lineup weighing on either of you, or do you feel it's weighing on the minds of other consumers, or do you feel this is predominantly, to me, and maybe it's just because I'm a hardware guy, the story of this past week has been about specs and price. and what are you getting for how much. Like I feel confident that the games are eventually going to come and arrive, but I feel like less so than in years past am I wrapped around the axle about like what games are launching on which platform right away.
I'm trying to think of a time for like a Sony or an Xbox where I was like, man, day one, I want to play that game. I have to get the new console. And it's the waters are muddied anyways because a lot of like the top games that are being released at launch for these things are also going to they're going to be on PC. They're going to be on the older Xbox and the PS4. Like that Sony was saying stuff like apparently Forbidden West and stuff are going to be a PS4 game as well. Like
Yeah,
they're going
I
to
just saw that actually today too. Yeah.
so it's they're still everything is kind of starting like that demarcation point is getting blurred, and so for me, you know, there wasn't anything that was telling me you have to get it on day one. All the stuff that I want to play is coming eventually. It's nice to know that it's on the horizon to get you to start thinking in terms of budget to make sure you kind of set some money aside to pick up a console and a game or two. But no, I haven't been super excited about the launch window.
And before you jump in, Prob, with your answer, I want to hold with Swiss just for a second while he's on the topic. So, so, so first of all, I mean, Swiss, you and I are both software engineers. I don't give a ton of credence to the internet in their sense that when a game deploys on both consoles, that it holds the title back. There's a little bit of that.
I don't want to imply that, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that for people that if you're looking at the games and that's like a reason to buy the console today, that's not you have another option.
Right.
So it's hard to say that the people that are buying consoles on November 12th and November 10th are anything but like hardware fanatics, like hardware dudes and dudettes.
Right.
Like the like that to me, like it's definitely much more about having the new shiny thing when you're trying to look in that launch window than it is about the launch setup.
Yeah, no, and I figured you and I, from a technical perspective, we're both in the same space with regards to the weight people put on that, and to me, what the software reality is, right? So, but I did want to ask, did you have any specific feelings on? I definitely came away right with the understanding of chronology that there was a point where we were given an impression that those things were only on PlayStation 5, and then very casually in the course of this show was dropped the fact that they were on PS5 and PS4.
The Horizon wasn't in the actual show, but yeah, I didn't get the sense. Well, I watched it, but I had it on like 2.0 speed because I was trying to do it during my lunch break. So I might have missed if they had put any references in there, but it was definitely, like a lot of them. Most of what I noticed was console exclusive and PC release. That was what I kept seeing, and I know that probably a majority of them are console exclusive for a period of time. Like it's hard for me to think that the Bethesda games like Deathloop are only going to be PS4 or 5.
So just a way to rephrase the question then, do you feel that for the people who were in the demographic who were like, these are launch titles, I'm hype about them, they're only going to be on this console, do you feel like there was wavering or second guessing when they found out, hey, this crop up? I mean, and they're to me they're key AAA titles, right? They were part of the differentiation argument of going PS5 early.
I don't think so because we're looking at the demographic of people that like the cool hardware. They like the new thing. So it's like saying, if you want to squeeze some nVidia news, are you going to be satisfied? Like you can play the game on an RTX 2060, but you could also play it on an RTX 3070, and does it really matter whether you're playing a game for you know what I mean? So
Ish. I feel like we were making about Xbox, right? Like, I feel it's a very big deal how wrapped around the axle I am about getting an Xbox. I feel that my emotion about that topic would be different if both Halo and Forza were landing this fall. Right. So right now, what I say to myself, I'm not staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning to try and catch the launch. I know Xbox has said they're going to tell us what time, right? But if it was going to be a midnight thing, like I'm not going through the gymnastics and jumping through the hoops. But I will say, okay, if you're bringing the new Forza, because I love the Forza series, and you're bringing the new Halo Infinite, it might make a difference. So to me, that the set of titles that were announced that now those things are going to be on PlayStation 4, it just caused me to wonder, well, I wonder what people feel about that.
I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I don't know. I feel like it's not as big of a deal, maybe. But I don't really have any solid justification or the only analogy I can think of is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but how many people had Wii U's that weren't excited about moving on to the Switch? So that's not really a good example.
For me, I mean, I was already not planning to get either of these consoles, and I'm going for Xbox. Just so, not that it's a surprise to anybody. I was gonna wait a little while, and even before the Halo Infinite delay, I was pretty much already sold that I was gonna wait a few months or maybe even until next year to get one, or maybe I'll get one for Christmas, my birthday. They're pretty close together, so it wasn't a big deal to me. And honestly, until really just now, there's only like a couple of games on each side of Sony and Xbox that I really knew that was going to come out for launch. And just kind of looking at the titles now, there's like 8 on the PlayStation, 6 on the Xbox. I mean, there's nothing that's like jumping out at me. I mean, we got Assassin's Creed on both. We have for PlayStation, we have Astro's Playroom, which I don't know what that is. Demon's Souls, Destruction All Stars, Devil May Cry Special Edition, Fortnite, which is kind of weird. Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Sackboy. I knew about Sackboy too, actually. Xbox side, we have the Yakuza. What's it called? Let me get this real quick. Like a Dragon. We have Watch Dogs Legion, Tetris Effect. Watch Dogs coming on the PlayStation 2. I think said within the launch window, so probably within like a week or two. Gears Tactics. Dirt 5, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, and then obviously Assassin's Creed. So I mean, there's really nothing there for me, at least. And I don't know, just this time around, I'm not like really excited all that much for either of them. I mean, even Xbox, like I'll get an Xbox eventually, but it's not like a high priority right now. And I don't know. I guess I just don't see a game out there. Like, I honestly think if Cyberpunk had been like a launch window or a launch day, a game, that probably would have got me excited to go get one. But since that's coming out for everything anyways, even for Xbox One, regular old Xbox One, I mean, it's just I just don't have the excitement like I used to in years past, even from this past generation, Xbox One, PS4. And I wonder if things would have been different, not so much for COVID, but just because of just the way. Well, I guess it is because of COVID, just because the way things have been announced, just because it's like kind of piecemeal, like it's a long stretch over this past summer and going into fall now. And I don't see Xbox, I don't think, at least announcing any other games, because I mean, we're only a month and a half or so, 2 months away. So they're probably not going to have too many more titles. They might have like third parties and stuff, but I don't think there's going to be like a major one. But I wonder if it would have been different, even with Xbox side too. Like this was supposedly leaked. Like they were supposed to have like a whole press conference for this, I guess, this week too, also at some point for the S and the the X presentation. When it's going to be when it's going to be released and how it's going to be priced. And I wonder if that might have swayed me a little bit, maybe. But I don't know. It's just been a weird year, I think, for just the whole all of gaming, just how everything has been coming out. So yeah, I'm just there nothing like swayed me either way, if I was going to get a PlayStation or an Xbox. But I think I'm always going to go Xbox though, anyways, just because I can't do the PlayStation controller and same thing with the Stadia. When I was playing with the Stadia, I can't do those parallel side by side control sticks. It's just I just can't do it. It honestly hurts my hands to play like that. So and maybe that's I'd get used to it after a while, but it's just weird. So I don't know. It's just weird to me. How about you? I guess, Cleese, any swaying of either way? I know you're kind of poo-pooing on Sony there just because of the way they did their pre-orders. But besides that, was there anything that you're like going to jump on for either system, either console? Or make you jump onto either console?
Not necessarily. And just to clarify, I'm not solely poo-pooing on Sony. I'll poo-poo on nVidia also, who dorked up their RTX 3080 launch. Same thing. They didn't tell people when pre-orders were going down. People started selling them early. They sold out immediately. Nobody can get so to me, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. To me, this holiday season, it's all about convenience, and it's all about transparency, right? And so, I mean, Microsoft it's what's really interesting is this timing, because I thought it was very catty and very interesting to observe. So Xbox announces early. They take, in my mind, the advantage by announcing their release date and their pricing first. Sony follows up by doing the same, notionally behind, but then matches them by doing pre-orders right away, right? So they announced later, but they sold earlier. So now, I mean, the reality is there are people who had, $5 $100 bills, right, in their hands, and they spent that money already on the PlayStation. So it's that opportunity is gone for them to be a potential consumer for the Series X or S, right? But Microsoft has had the opportunity to observe two companies dork up their holiday releases, right, in terms of pre-orders. And I I have, I have stigma now, right, associated with this feeling that Sony's trying to get me to gyrate, right, in ridiculous ways to try and obtain their console. There's a hint of the arrogance of, with the whole thing of the, hey, submit your name and then we'll tell you if you have the privilege of pre-ordering no, put the thing on Amazon, have it pop in my wish list, and when it's available, then I'll just buy it, right? So I feel like I've taken that. Like I made a list this morning of like RTX, Xbox Series, whatever, PlayStation, whatever, and another thing. And Nvidia's boned up the 3080, right? So it's out the window. The 3070. I think I'm taking that off the plate too. And as far as I am concerned, PlayStation is also kind of off my radar for the fall, just because I'm not interested in playing those games. Amazingly, the company that's still in the running for my dollars, from my perspective, is AMD, who will be announcing, their Zen 3 CPUs in the first week of October and their big Navi card at the end of October. And because of some the power supply things with the RTX card, right? The new NVIDIA card would require me to buy new power supplies. Because the 3070 requires a 650 watt power supply and the 3080 requires a 750 watt power supply. That's a new PC build, right? It's taken me down that path. So yeah, I mean, to me, these companies are going to make and break a lot of potential consumers based on how they handle pre-orders and orders and supply and scarcity. And these first two examples have not been good. They're not good looks. And a lot of the other stuff around them, just like that, again, that whole Sony thing, just not coming off spit and polished, and might be leaving a bad taste with some people. And both, those companies are better served by doing something, right, to address that, right, in some kind of way. I don't know how.
Yeah. And to be fair, I'm going to side with Sony here on for a second. This probably never happen again. But the email thing that you had mentioned, I think that was just for their Sony store. I think other places like Amazon and Target and all that, I think they were getting the stock out there. But I think that email thing was just for the Sony store, if I remember correctly, when I was reading around on the internet. So
I'm not sure. I was able to go and sign up for it, and supposedly they were, they would get your email sign up and then look at. I don't know how they did the down select on who was allowed to order. To me, where I could order from didn't matter. The point was that I was being fleeced and reviewed, and some criteria was being applied to me to determine whether or not, right? And the thing that makes me, from a consumer perspective, a little angry about it is this is the housing market, right? This is like, hey, a person put an offer on a house, right? But they still have to obtain financing. I walk up to you and tell you, I've got the cash, I'll pay you right now for the house, right? But that like doesn't matter. So as far as I can tell, I may not have been selected because I actually have a job and like don't get to play PlayStation like 80 hours a week, right? But somebody else, again, not mad that those might be the criteria, but mad because it was arbitrary and veiled and not open and transparent.
Okay. All right. Let's Swiss, you got any other comments before we get going to our other stores?
I know it's getting late. My one little last comment is like, the PS5 is going to be massive, like just physically. I saw a little lineup of like different consoles from the PS3 on up, and even including the Xboxes. And this thing's like bigger than that jumbo PS3 that came out back in the day. And I didn't realize it was that big. And it's kind of a downer because that's really massive. But so, I'll still get it eventually. I hope it doesn't sound like a Harrier jet when it's sitting under my TV.
Maybe that's why it's so big, so they get the airflow figured out. They're fine.
Yeah, but with everything I said, just like you said, my intention is to eventually procure both of the consoles. It's just like you mentioned, Prime. It's driving and modulating like when that becomes really like a priority for me, and when FOMO hits, right? And right now they're not doing what they need to get me into the FOMO zone. Like I could almost care less, right? Having just talked through it, and maybe that's just because I've worked myself up to being angry about the whole thing. But I'm much more. I would be right now. My consumer satisfaction would be much higher if I were able to get my hands on a new Ryzen CPU and an AMD card.
Yeah. All right. Stay on that mic because I'm coming to you first here for your news story. We had actually had the Ubisoft Forward, another Ubisoft Forward event recently come out. Did you want to talk anything that kind of tickled your fancy there that kind of jumped out at you? Or? I
mean, news that I think it's important. There's a lot of news here that's relevant to me. News that I think people should know is obviously Gods and Monsters, I guess, which is the kind of the Zelda Breath of the Wild design-looking game coming from Ubisoft from the Assassin's Creed Odyssey team, I believe, or not Odyssey, whatever. What was the Egypt one called?
Origins,
yes. Has been relabeled to or retitled to Immortals: Phoenix Rising. Says it'll be out on December 3rd. So if you are able to get a new console, that is a title that you'll be able to play on it, I believe. I think. Maybe not. It doesn't list PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X as one of its, which is weird because Ubisoft is one of those companies that's always there on day one. It'll be out on something. You'll be able to play December 3rd. Prince of Persia announced, obviously, still more information to come about that. Says it'll be out by January 21st. So, again, it'll be coming soon. Again, only thing labeled here are the old consoles. So, or the current consoles, depending on how you look at it. I'm trying to see if anything else here is, to me, what would really be important. Watch Dogs Legion comes out October 29th. I don't see consoles. I don't see consoles labeled here. I assume that's a PlayStation 5 and Series. What do you call both Xbox Series consoles?
Series is this?
Series.
I think you had it right before.
I was looking up Hogwarts Legacy, and it's listing all the consoles, and it's coming out to everything eventually, even though it was at the PlayStation event. And it was Xbox Series X/S S.
I've seen that. So I've seen that written, and I've seen vertical bar S. But I don't know how you say that in a way that's efficient. I don't know how you verbalize it.
Height.
XS.
Height
Yes.
S.
X pipe S. Maybe that.
Oh, there you go. XS. You can say just XS.
Yeah. So Ubisoft games coming. Again, if we had more time, we might deep dive into some of those. But I think Watch Dogs Legions obviously is big on my thing, and now I need to focus on like probably playing those on current gen consoles and or on PC. But yeah, I continue to be excited about Watch Dogs Legions. It's probably the most exciting thing in their lineup. And of course, I think it wasn't announced during Ubisoft Forward, but beforehand. What is important to me is the now I'm forgetting, is the
Just
skull.
Dance?
No, it's the Skull and Bones. Sorry, it has been further delayed, but it is being worked on. Again, my suspicions that they have moved. I know that they say that their big thing about it is that they're redesigning it, which to me means they're going back and taking a look at, not in a bad way, but I think in a prudent and necessary way, is looking at monetization and whether that thing is an MMO and how you structure it and make it a Destiny-like game as a service kind of thing, which I think is appropriate. I think those things have changed over the last 2 or 3 years, and I think this rapid shoot from the hip thing of like they were building it on the Assassin's Creed Black Flag engine and they were just going to throw it out there as a multiplayer free-for-all. I think giving that some additional thought is appropriate. I also strongly suspect, as I have the whole time, that they also made a decision to put it on a different engine, or move it to the Ubisoft proprietary engine, a later version, and I think that's all playing out. I'm fine with that. Take their time. I think that's a game that appeals to me. I don't mind it being delayed if they're taking time to get it right.
Yeah, a couple things was Immortals, Phoenix Rising. That does look pretty cool. I've always kind of liked that Greek, Roman mythology type of theme, so I'm very interested in that. And then also Riders Republic looks kind of cool. There's kind of extreme sports. They had biking, skiing, snowboarding. You had those little squirrel suits and jetpacks and stuff. So that looked like it would be fun.
Yeah, it's a neat way to play on their Trials IP, right? To kind of take those lessons learned in that experience, and understanding how those dynamics play in the market to make a multiplayer game that's kind of in that same realm and lane. It's not a shared universe. I'm not saying it's a Trials sequel, but I'm saying it's obviously Trials-like at its foundation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It just looks cool, and I've been playing a lot of Tony Hawk and Descenders, which is like a downhill mountain biking game. So it kind of goes right in my wheelhouse. And is that? That's for next year, February 25th. That's supposed to come out. Swiss, anything that came out of there that you found interesting?
The Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Did they announce a new Splinter Cell?
No, but I think that was it today, I think, or yesterday. There's a VR Splinter Cell game that's supposed to be coming out. So you got that, I guess.
No, I don't have anything yet.
All right. Let's go in real quick. My story real quick here. We got Rocket League going free to play on Epic. Well, it says Epic Game Store here on this PC Gamer, article. But it's actually going free to play on everything, really. On every system and every console. So that's coming next week on the 23rd, which is Wednesday the 23rd. So you'll have cross-platform, which is pretty much they've always had that. But this week they actually put a big update out, and there's cross-progression now in between all the different consoles. So like I played on the Switch, and I played on Xbox. A little convoluted. You kind of had to go into the Epic's website, or Rocket League's website, which directs you to Epic. Kind of pick which systems you have, and then it does its magic in the background. I know it's not magic. I know Agasicles and Swiss are like, that's not magic back there. There's software stuff going on. But yeah, so you go in there, you can pick like your primary platform that you played on, and then everything will kind of like feed off of that to all the other systems if you played on multiple systems. So I did that. It took me, it was, once the update finally came through, which I think actually took a while. It was like midday, I think, when it came through, which usually it's, early morning hours, but this one came midday. the servers were getting slammed. So when you go to the website, it was having all kinds of problems. Obviously, people were flipping out. But I mean, once you did it a few times, I didn't have any problems to get in there and do all that. So I mean, I saw people, just obviously, nasty internet comments and stuff like that. But eventually, everything got ironed out. So you had your legacy status items that you're also received if you had bought it. It doesn't say here. I think it was sometime. I forgot the date, what the date was exactly, but there's a date that you bought it beforehand that you get all this legacy items. Basically, it was kind of all there's different tiers basically for all the skins and all that. So you got all the common items that you got unlocked for free now. They just gave it to you as soon as you logged in, so that was kind of nice. So I got a bunch of more skins.
Are the DC superhero skin stuff in there? The Batmobile?
No.
Okay.
No, they had mentioned that stuff wasn't going to be cross progression yet. They were working on that. I think they had mentioned that a couple weeks ago, actually. So not yet, but they were working on it. So hopefully I'll get all that. So like right now, I think I have like Ghostbusters or something on my Xbox, but I don't see that on Switch right now. But even though that is my primary console that I had picked, so but hopefully they'll get around to that eventually. That'd be nice. So I had bought a few things on the different consoles. So hopefully we'll get that. And also with the coming free-to-play status next week, I think at the same time, or actually I think it's the weekend after, they're doing a kind of a crossover with Fortnite, of course. So they'll have a Rocket League Llama Rama, which they haven't really said what it is exactly. I don't know. It's probably some kind of like, since they have cars now in Fortnite, there's probably going to be like some kind of special race or something that you can do, and there'll be skins and stuff you can unlock for both games. So kind of cool. That's pretty much it. Any comments on that, on the Rocket League stuff? Anybody gonna pick it up now that it's free? I think some of you, or actually everybody has it, right? I believe. Yeah. So
I do. It just hasn't. I don't know. It's in my menagerie of games that I play that are like Osiris Prime. It just hasn't. It hasn't burbled to the top. But we have we have a GX show next week, and I'll be talking about those kind of things a lot.
Okay, nice. Swiss, go if you want to go ahead on your last story here. A little Nintendo.
My last little story was about Mario 3D All Stars, and that there was a retailer in the UK who, excuse me, they I think they just canceled all their pre-orders because they were, quote, in woefully short supply. So I think DB and I mentioned when we did the 35th anniversary discussion on the deep dive a couple weeks ago, 3D All Stars was a limited release. And so not only is it going to be limited run physically, they're going to apparently stop doing it digitally. So I shortly on the heels of that, they came this limited run is limited enough where this particular reseller, base.com in the UK, just said, we can't do this. There's not going to be enough. So going back to what Agasically said on fear of missing out, like that was the game plan, I guess, and it worked. Like, I mean, I pre-ordered it. Mine's coming in tomorrow from Amazon. So we'll DV I know has picked it up, or ordered it. Like I think he said he ordered it on the show. Like we had already purchased it. But yeah, fear of missing out can be a powerful motivator. I'm ashamed to say.
Yeah, I think digitally it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In my defense, I didn't actually own Mario 64, and nor did I own Mario. I was always a Zelda guy, so a lot of these Mario titles I haven't actually played yet, so
nice.
Kind of can justify it.
I think the digital version is until. Well, I think the physical too, if there's enough stock. But I think it's until next year, right? Is when it goes into the vaults or whatever they're stopping production.
Whatever they're gonna call the thing they do to generate fear of missing out.
Yeah.
We got some very strong runners in the last couple of weeks for most anti-consumer behavior. So very, very good discussion being set up for Gaming Superlative Awards.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna buy digitally because I've had like all these. Well, Special 64. I've had that multiple times already. So, but it'll be nice to have Sunshine though, because I haven't played that since it came out initially. So, and I never beat Galaxy, so it'd be nice to go back and actually finish that game. So, kind of wish they had both of them on there, 1 and 2, but it's just the first one for right now. So, I'm assuming they'll sell the other one eventually. So yeah,
DLC add-on
that's right.
with a limited time release.
You only have a month to play it, then it's gone. All right. I think that is it for tonight. Let's see what we got for our picks plays next week. With the release of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, we have coming out. I think it's next? Is it this week or next week? I believe that one's coming out.
I think it's out now.
Oh, is it out already?
I think
Okay.
it released last week.
Out, like, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna go back and visit a. Oh, I thought you had something to say. A remaster or reissued game from the last generation, which is the 360, PS3, and the Wii U. I'm going to play and am playing Red Faction Guerrilla Remastered Edition on the Switch, and I might try to play on the Xbox too, just to see. I mean, probably just a graphical difference, but we'll see if there's anything else. DB was going to play either Darkstalkers 1 and 2 or Saints Row 3 and 4, kind of keep it in the THQ family of old and kind of new. Swiss, you're going to do Hyrule Warriors on the Switch. And Gascles, it looks like you have Trackmania and or Divinity Original Sin Definitive Edition. So check us out next week on our GX show where Mr. Gascles will be hosting and I will be the co-host, just the two of us, old school, next week. Gentlemen, it's been a show. I'll say that. Interesting conversation. Thank you, Swiss. Thank you, Gascles. Check us out for the GX show. That'll be 162. No more Palindrome. Sorry, you're going to have to wait a little while. And have a good night. Please take care of each other. And we will see you next time.